Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another very important topic for Angular component, that is ngOnInit method, or you can say ngOnInit component lifecycle hook. So in this session, we will discuss what is ngOnInit, why do we use it, what are the difference between ngOnInit and constructor. So constructor is the thing that we have already discussed in our last session, right? But today, we are going to mainly focus on ngOnInit. And while learning the ngOnInit, I'll also show you the differences between constructor and ngOnInit. Because most of the time in interviews or in exam, these questions comes similarly, like what is the difference between ngOnInit and constructor. So you should know the actual difference. So we will discuss both practically as well as theoretically, like what is the difference and how we can implement both things in our project. Okay. But before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic. Because for time being, we are just mainly focusing on how to use ngOnInit method. Okay, so let's go and start the coding. So here you can see we have a simple project that we usually create with a normal first command, right? So project is created, we have parent component. Now what we will do, we will create our own child component. On that child component, we will use all these things like ngOnInit and everything, right? So for that, you can simply open new terminal from here. My terminal is already open, so I will directly run the command to create the component. So here I will write ng for Angular, G is for generate, C is for component, and component name would be login. Then simply hit enter. So once you hit enter, it will take few seconds and it will create a component for you. So you can see all 4 files has been created under this login folder. So this is our login component. Okay. Now what we will do, we will connect this login component with our app component. That is, login is child component and app is a parent component. So for that, let's select this here you can copy the selector and also remember this name, the name of class. So we will go to this app.component.ts file. Here we will put firstly we need to register it, right? So for that we will write here login component. So once you write this thing, it will automatically add this for importing the login component. Okay. After that, you can simply go to this this app.component.html. Here we will set the value as an tag. So this is the selector. So what basically it will do, it will connect your child component with a parent component. So let's see if it is working properly or not. So we will run the application ng server -- open and enter. It will take few seconds and then it will open a session for you, means browser for you, or if there is any error, it will show the error. Okay, so yeah, here you can see this text is coming from parent HTML file, and this is coming from the child HTML file, that is login component. Okay, that means our component is created and attached successfully. Perfect. So now I'm closing this application for now. Okay. So let's go here. Here we will discuss firstly we will discuss what is ngOnInit, because definition is very important thing, right? If you don't know the definition, then it would be not that much easier for you to understand the things. So if someone asks you what is ngOnInit method, so you can simply say that ngOnInit is a lifecycle hook provided by Angular that runs after the component is initialized and after all input values are set. Clear? So what is ngOnInit? ngOnInit is nothing but is a method, or you can say is a lifecycle hook provided by Angular that runs after the component is initialized and after all input values are set. Okay. Now what kind of logic we should put here? So it is the best place to write the initializing logic, like fetching the data or using input value from the parent. So this is ngOnInit. Now we will also compare it with constructor, because every time like people get confused between constructor and ngOnInit, so we will learn it in a comparative manner. So constructor, which we discussed in one of our last session, so constructor is nothing but a special TypeScript method that gets called when the component class is created, and it is mainly used to inject dependency. Okay, so it basically runs before Angular sets the component input. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, ngOnInit is called when everything is ready, input are set, okay, and component is properly created. But in case of constructor, inputs are not ready by the Angular component, so it runs before the Angular sets the component input. Okay, and that's why we use constructor to set we used constructor to just for the initial setup, not for the logic that depends on input of view. Okay, fine. So definition wise I think we are clear, but it's good to discuss practically. Okay, that then it would be very easy for you. So we will take one real life example. Okay, so suppose there is one classroom. Okay, I'll explain you in a very simple terms. Okay, there is one classroom. In that classroom you can consider as a component. Okay, so when some of the student arrive in that classroom in the morning, what they will do, they will unpack their bag. Okay, why? Because they want to learn something in the school, right? In this classroom they are coming from learning, right? But at that moment when they just reached the classroom, they will start unpacking their bag. They will pull out their box and all the learning material, but at that moment they are not aware of what they are going to learn. So this thing where we are just doing the initial setup, because to learn something they need books, they need pen, pencil, right? So when they are doing all these setup, these things will be contained under constructor, because at that moment they are not aware like what topic they are going to learn, what chapter they are going to learn, what subject they are going to learn, right? So this is the thing. Here we are just talking about the initial setup. Similarly, when teacher comes and give them instruction that yes, this is the subject you want to learn, we are going to learn, at that moment teacher has provided the information that yes, we are going to learn about this particular subject, science, maths, or any particular subject, right? So that thing will come under ngOnInit. Okay, if it is not clear, don't worry, with example it will be very clear. So we just discussed the scenario like what we are going to create. Now let's go to login.component.ts file. Here we will do one thing, like we will receive the value. So to receive the value from parent component, what you can do, you can go to, or you can consider this parent as a teacher. Okay, teacher will instruct, na? So you can consider it as a teacher. So let's go to teacher.component.html file. From here what we will do, we will send the subject name. So I'll write here subject, and subject name would be science. Okay, so this is the thing that I want to pass from here. Alright, but like have you received this value? Not yet, right? So let's go to login.component.ts file. Here we will receive the value, and we all know how to receive the inputs, right? Because we have already discussed it. If you don't know, you can refer the previous session. Okay, so here I want to receive the value which is subject, and right now the type is string, and we will also initialize some value like blank string. Okay, so it is highlighting this thing. Why? Because we have not added this input here. So sometime it automatically adds, sometime it not. So let's add it here, and this is case sensitive to write in the same way. Okay, perfect. So from the app component.html file, we are sending the name of subject. So you can relate it with teacher. Okay, so teacher is sending the name of subject, or you can say when teacher arrives in the class, they are just telling that yes, we are going to learn about science. Now go to login.component.ts file. Here we have declared this thing. Now we will declare both methods. Methods means the hooks. Although constructor is not a hook, lifecycle hook, but still we will write here. So we will write here constructor, because this is the method that comes first before setting up the values. So here in constructor we will write console. This is just to show you the output. Okay, so console.log, and here we will write here we will write simply what we can write that student has entered the classroom. We can write student has entered the classroom and unpack their bag. Okay, so this is the initial stage, right? We are just initializing the things that we need. So student has entered the classroom and they are unpacking their bag. So at this moment, if we try to print the subject name, we will not be able to get the value. Why? Because still component is not created, input values are not set. So just to prove this thing, I am printing this value here. Okay, so constructor subject and then comma, and here we will print the value this dot subject. So at this moment it will not print anything. Why? Because still component is not created, input values are not set. Okay, this is just an initial phase, and we all know constructor will always get executed first. After this, ngOnInit will be executed. So we will write here ngOnInit. So this is also a function, so we will declare it like this. Here, while declaring the ngOnInit, it's always a recommended practice that whenever you're using it, implement it here. How? You just need to write here implements, then on init. You need to write this thing. Okay, remember one thing, for this you need to import this thing. If it is not there, you should import it. Okay, otherwise it will give you error. So is this mandatory thing? Not mandatory, because nowadays in modern Angular, if you are not writing this thing, still it will work similarly, but it's a best practice. Why? Because in project you are going to create multiple class, multiple objects, right? So at that time it will give you the idea, like here in this class we have implemented the onInit method. That's why it is very recommended thing, not mandatory but recommended. Okay, fine, but we will follow the standards. Okay, that's why we are writing it. Now in this ngOnInit, what will happen if we write here console.log? So here what we will do, here we will simply mention the teacher gave the instruction, but because by that time component will be created successfully, means teacher component, or you can say app component, and it will provide the required value like the name of subject. So we will write here teacher gave instruction and student start learning. Okay, fine. So this message will be printed, and along with this we will also print the value, because this time value is known. Okay, so we will write here console.log. Here we will write constructor, not constructor, ngOnInit, and this is case sensitive. Okay, so not in the text but outside, so make sure to write in the same thing. Okay, and here we will write subject equal, then we will came out of this and we will write here this dot subject. Perfect. Now save it. So it is ready. Now whenever this component is started, like just after creating this component, it will call this constructor, where it will print the message student has entered the classroom and unpacked their bag, because this is the initial phase. After that, when we try to print the constructor subject, it will not print anything. Why? Because in constructor input values are not accessible. This is very important line for your interviews and exam. Please make a note of it, that in constructor input fields are not available. Just after after completing, once the component is completely ready, input fields are set, then ngOnInit will be evoked and it will print this message teacher gave instruction, student start learning, and we will also print this thing subject, which is this subject. At this time subject will be displayed, which is science, and from where we are getting this value? We are getting this value from the parent component. Clear? That's why we learned the component communication earlier. We discuss each and every way to pass the values, right? If you have not watched that session, you can simply watch it. Fine. So let's run this application and see how output is coming. So we will write here ng serve -- open enter. It will take few seconds and run the application. So it is taking time. Perfect, it is called without any error. Now you will see there is nothing on output. Yes, because we have printed everything in console. So to see the console output, let's go to inspect, and from inspect click on this console, and now you can read all the messages. So first message is student has entered the classroom and unpacked their bag. That means constructor is evoked. So at this stage constructor is evoked, right? So let me show you. Here this line is printed firstly. Second line is constructor subject, and there is nothing. Why? Because as I mentioned that in constructor input values are not accessible, because by that time component is not ready with the input value. Okay, so this is printed without name of subject. Then ngOnInit is initialized or invoked. That's why we got this value. Teacher gave instructions, students start learning. And after that, when we print this ngOnInit subject science, it shows that yes, science is a subject, because by that time ngOnInit has the capability to access the input value, because by that time component set all the required input value, and that's why we are able to see the output. Okay, so this is the all possible difference. I think this is one of the best example to understand the concept of ngOnInit and constructor, because we have discussed it in a comparative way. And why? Because this thing is often asked in interviews, like what is the difference. So I think now you got the idea like how to create and use the thing, that is ngOnInit and constructor. Now let me take it debug it in debug mode just to show you the output. So I'll refresh this screen. Okay, so it is here. Now we will press F10. So you can see input line is processed. Let me take it to the right point first. So so here you can see this line is processed, but still constructor is not able to print it. Why? So if you check the console value, student has entered the classroom and unpacked their bags. This line is processed, but still it is not printed here because constructor don't have this access. Okay, constructor is not capable to access it, and that's why after printing it, still it is printing blank, because it is not allowed to print the value, because it doesn't have the access to print this. Okay, to access it, not print, to access it. Now if we take it further, and when we proceed the ngOnInit, at that time it will be able to print both the values. So you can see here, teacher gave instructions, student start learning, ngOnInit subject science. Clear? So I think now it is clear like how we do this entire differentiation between ngOnInit and constructor. If you have any doubt, you can ask simply in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you here. Okay, and overall I think now you have noted down all the points, that ngOnInit is evoked when the constructor is completely ready with all their input values, but constructor is called when the component started immediately when component is created. Okay, but that time input is not ready, input fields are not ready. Constructor is mainly used for basic setup and services, but ngOnInit is mainly used for those kind of logic which is depend on the input, because we discussed here, right? It has the capability to access the input values. So these are the all important differences between constructor and ngOnInit. So I hope this session is clear to all of you. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.